Well, I hope you watched last week's video on Rogue AI because that's kind of setting the stage for this week's video. We're going to continue the discussion. As you found out, AI technology isn't just unpredictable, it may become uncontainable. You know, AI isn't just for helping you write better emails and generating intriguing YouTube thumbnails. It's now being increasingly weaponized. From drone strikes to battlefield decisions, artificial intelligence, AI, is quickly becoming a major player. I mean, just look at what happened recently when the Ukraine smuggled in all these drones on Russian territory and released them, and in one night, ended up destroying 7 fighter planes and damaging 41 other Russian fighter planes. Pretty amazing. But the scary part is, what if we're not in control? What if the good guys aren't in control? You know, United Kingdom has announced a £2 billion investment into AI-powered military drones. They want to increase their killing power tenfold. And the U.S., Lockheed Martin, is doing a creatively titled Project AI Flight Club test to test which AI systems make the best battlefield decisions. And we already talked about Ukraine and Operation Spiderweb, right? Just a decade ago, this was kind of unthinkable. And today, I think it's becoming a blueprint for future warfare. You know, there are a lot of advantages using AI. They don't need to rest. They can process threats in milliseconds. And in the chaos of war, it's faster and more scalable than human command. A nation could launch thousands of drones in just a few lines of code. But AI does not understand context. It can misidentify a target, and it could prioritize efficiency over ethics. Basically, the end justifies the means. And you know, there have been studies that show AI models in the military tend to escalate conflict instead of de-escalating conflict. I mean, they're not emotional, they're efficient. And that might sound good until you end up to be the unintended casualty. Yeah, I know this sounds familiar. It does sound like HAL from 2001 Space Odyssey, doesn't it? And other science fiction novels have explored this concept. I guess science fiction saw this coming. And the US right now, the Pentagon, is rolling out the Replicator program, aiming to deploy thousands of AI-powered drones in autonomous systems by the end of this year. And the Air Force is testing XQ-58A Valkyrie, a stealthily unmanned combat drone that can fly alongside fighter jets. And the Navy is bringing aboard the MQ-25 Stingray, and that drone could refuel aircraft mid-air. And of course, the Army can't be left behind. They're developing next-gen drones under its Future Tactical Unmanned Aircraft System. They want to replace their outdated models. So to me, this is a full spectrum AI arms race. And the US, we're all in. In Libya, some time ago, we saw the first case of a drone potentially making a kill without human input. But DARPA is now studying how military AIs could be hacked or spoofed. Because, hey, if we can't control our own systems, imagine what happens when our enemies do or AI takes over. And the U.S. is supposed to have a policy not to use drones on U.S. soil, but there have been some exceptions. We've used them for surveillance, during protests, for border patrol, and disaster response. So the infrastructure, it's already here. And the line between battlefield and your backyard is getting thinner and thinner and thinner. And AI isn't just in drones. It's now embedded in missile guidance systems, battlefield threat assessment, robotic ground vehicles, and even cyber defense platforms. And these aren't just tools, these are decision makers. When a decision happens faster than a human can intervene, well, things could spiral pretty darn fast. And to me, there's something even more concerning. Many of the parts used to make these drones, yeah, they're made in China. I mean, the camera I'm using right now to film this is the DJI Pocket 3. And yes, it's made in China. And China is one of the companies that make great drones for home users. But China is not necessarily our friend. And also key components like GPS models, like I said, cameras, flight controllers, and communication chips all can be made in China that are used in weapons of other countries. You know, if tensions rise, or maybe supply chains, they just get cut, how secure are our systems really? Or worse, could they have baked in vulnerabilities from the start? And most people think of drones as flying cameras, delivery tools, but there's another threat to consider: noise-based weapons. You know, in theory, and increasingly in practice, drones could be outfitted with acoustic weapons that emit high decibel or high frequency sound to disorient or incapacitate. Again, not science fiction. Sound canyons and long-range acoustic devices already exist. Mounting them on a drone, well, just a little engineering feat. And what happens if it gets in terrorist hand? You know, in 2015, yeah, back that far, 10 years ago, a protester in Japan, had put radioactive sand in a drone and landed on the prime minister's office with that radioactive sand. Now, no one was hurt, but the message was clear: drones can be weaponized by an individual. And in 2024, an engineer just used retail parts right off the shelf, and created an AI-powered drone with facial recognition. It could track a specific person. He claimed it was for a game, but admitted it sure could be weaponized. So let's bring this home. Drones can be used for surveillance, infrastructure attacks, and delivery of explosive payloads. And remember, it's not just governments. It could be terror groups. It could be hackers, lone actors, anyone with a parts kit and a Wi-Fi signal. I mean, just imagine a drone dropping a payload on a transformer in your hometown, and you don't have power for days, weeks, or even longer. So, I mean, what can you do? What can we as preppers really do? We just have to do what we've always been doing, right? Have an extensive prepper food pantry and water storage, medical supplies, and other supplies. And you might want to consider EMP shielding for vital electronics, build your own Faraday cage, and keep communication tools like ham radios or walkie-talkies in it. And of course, practice gray man or women tactics. You don't want to stand out in a high surveillance world. And if you ever get to the point where you're worried about thermal imaging, Because, yeah, many drones and military systems use thermal imaging. Well, you can reduce your heat signature a bit. You can wrap in a double layered mylar emergency blanket and get under shade or brush. Use natural barriers like rock, dirt, thick vegetation. Avoid movement and high activity because your body heat rises fast. But you're not going to become invisible. You're just going to be less visible. And maybe that's all it will take. Personally, I'm not worried about thermal imaging, but you might be. So remember, prepping isn't just about food and water anymore. It's about digital resilience. And again, if you missed last week's video on Rogue AI and the test, the one where the model refused to shut down itself, you'll definitely want to watch that next. It lays the foundation for everything we've talked about today. So the battlefield is changing, from jungles and deserts to airspace above our cities and the code behind our power grids. Drones are fast, cheap, and increasingly autonomous. And AI, it's already calling many of the shots that humans used to make. We can't really stop it. I think all we can do is try to prepare for what it might break. So I hope this gave you something to think about, but not excessively worry about. Just hit that like button. It really helps getting this video out to more. And let me know in the comments, would you trust AI with your safety or your neighborhood safety? Stay smart, stay steady, and always keep prepping and share the knowledge. Thank you.